Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Bowler. This is another Black Conservative. Thank you for joining me once again. Uh, well, we all know that voting took place yesterday, election took place yesterday, and the state of Ohio has, unfortunately, for people like myself, I would say that's unfortunate, that they has passed the legislation that states that now it is now legal for women to go ahead or individuals to get an abortion. Now, I'm going to just read a portion of this article in here because I want to give you guys my opinion of why I think that this passed in the state of Ohio and why I feel that a lot of the Republicans and conservatives just have to up the ante with their campaigning because their campaigning strategy stinks. But let's get right into this article. And to me, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate, but it is what it is. It is what it is, and we just got to. I mean, we're gonna have to start somewhere else. We're just gonna have to start somewhere else, you know. Ohioans codified the supposed, quote, right to abortion in their state constitution Tuesday night, representing another state-level victory for pro-abortion activists pushing ballot measures following the overturning of Roe v. Wade last year. Polling locations in the Buckeye State closed at 7:30 p.m. Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report called the election nearly an hour after polls closed, with 60% voting in favor of the amendment called Issue 1 and 40% voting against it, with 27% of votes counted, New York Times projections show. And that's really bad. That's really bad. Article goes on and says, Issue 1 changes the state constitution and takes precedence over laws passed by the state legislature. It is likely irreversible and can only be overturned by another ballot measure. Its passage also comes after an amendment that would have raised the threshold to pass amendments to the state constitution from 50% plus 1 to 60% failed in an August special election. That amendment would have made it more difficult for the abortion amendment to pass. And there's some other things here. I think I can see why those who are pro-abortion, the terms that they use were able to brainwash so many Ohioans into saying, yes, this is cool. It says pro-abortion groups pushing the amendment dumped significant sums, there you go with the money, into framing a, quote, yes vote on issue 1 as a vote for, quote, freedom, see? And invoked conservative imagery, opposition to government overreach, and mentions of faith and family to convince Ohioans to support the killing of the unborn. Pro-abortion groups successfully employed a similar strategy in the 2022 midterms when abortion was on the ballot in states like Kansas and Michigan. And see, this is what I'm talking about. The article says that they successfully employed a similar strategy. See, it's all about the campaign strategy to a large extent. It's all about this campaign strategy. So the article talks about how that in the legislation, it talks about some things such as, here's something I want to read you guys. Critics of the ballot amendment urgently warned leading up to the election that the measure is about much more than abortion and could be used to decimate parental rights. People don't care about that now, unfortunately. They do and then they don't, but I'm going to get into that. Parental rights lead to abortion throughout pregnancy, gruesome partial birth, abortions, and even allow minors to pursue sex change procedures. Now, this is an argument that the conservatives have made, okay? This is an argument that they've made based on this. Now, here's the reason why the conservatives and Republicans have made that argument about this so-called constitutional change. Some constitutional scholars, as well as Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, pointed to the amendment's broad language, specifically the use of the term individual, to argue that the amendment could be used to allow minors to obtain abortions without parental consent. And excuse me, the article goes into a whole lot of other things here that I'm not going to get into. You can you can go to the description box below, and you can type up the title of the article in the Breitbart News, and you can read the rest of that on your own. To me, this is a sad day for the state of Ohio because it just goes to show you that people are not as pro-life as a lot of people think they are. A lot of conservatives think that they're pro-life. And I'm pretty sure a lot of conservatives and Republicans that are out there on the campaign trail trying to convince Ohioans that this so-called constitutional amendment, whatever, would really with the ambiguous language is really going to open Pandora's box to a lot of things that really is going to be detrimental to a lot of young people. Now, in my personal opinion, I think that that's what's going to eventually come down a lot, happen down the line, simply because some of the terms are ambiguous, like individual. Instead of saying woman or female, they say individual. Excuse me. An individual could be anyone. An individual is not specific. Okay. So they could play around with that. Okay. But here's the thing. Here's the fundamental question that I asked myself as I discovered this outcome. I asked myself a fundamental question: why? Why was the pro-abortion activists and advocates so successful? I mean, like, according to this article, they like wiped out the people that were against it. I mean, like, really, it wasn't like, it was a landslide against them. Why? Why were they so effective? Now, the article goes on to say one of the reasons was money. I believe a particular group, the article states, is connected to George Soros. And I know you all know George Soros. He's a financier, and he finances radical groups, particularly far left radical groups, and he finances them. This man is a multi-billionaire, and money tends to answer all things, unfortunately. If you don't have the money, you're going to have a hard time really getting, anything going. For example, the article talks about how that the pro-abortion advocates were able to raise over $60 million. It was in the tens of millions of dollars, whereas the ones that were against abortion only was able to raise $10 million. But I have to look at, but going back to that question, why? Why is it Is it just because of the money? Or is it in part because of the campaign strategy? And I believe that it is in part because of the campaign strategy of a lot of conservatives and a lot of Republicans. Their campaign strategies stink. Now, here's the thing. They're going to have to find some kind of way to convince people. They're going to have to find some kind of way to convince people, okay, this thing about abortion, you got to do it in a way that wakes people up. Because you got to understand something, and this is my opinion. It's easier for the liberal establishment to push and promote pro-abortion, in part because a significant number of females have become, and I know I'm going to get some slack for this, but this is my opinion based on my observations and studies down the years, have become lazy. Now, what do I mean by that? It's easier for these young girls or women to get an abortion than it is to take care of their child. 9 times out of 10, married couples are not going to get an abortion. So let's just cipher this down to unmarried people. You do your boom, 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 you freak the zip, boom, boom, boom. She ends up getting pregnant. The guy is not, for the most part, going to stay around. He sees no obligation. So now the young lady is stuck with the child. If the young girl is stuck with the child, well, she will be stuck with the child. If she's living with her parents or parent, or a legal guardian, now she has to deal with telling her parents, or legal guardian that she's pregnant. Now she got to deal with that weight. Her boo ain't around. Okay. Now she has to deal with that weight, that responsibility, right? Then she's going to have to, so if the parent or the guardian says, well, you got to get you a part-time job. 9 times out of 10, the parent and the guardian is not going to kick the child out. The girl, they ain't going to do that. But now they got to help take care of this child, to take care of the daughter or the child who has his baby. Now they got to deal with the all night, getting up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to feed the baby. They got to deal with that. They got to deal with buying Pampers. They got to deal with buying baby formula and all these type of things. They got to deal with all of this stuff. They got to deal with. The young girl has to deal with it. The woman has to deal with it. They have to deal with all these responsibilities that come with it. I'll argue this, that the liberal establishment down through the decades have been successful in coddling a significant number of women here in America to be lazy when it comes down to these children. It's easier to abort the baby than to keep the baby. So that's one of the reasons I personally believe that they were so successful. Then they talk about faith. The article says they use faith, which obviously is religion, more than likely Christianity. That's the part that kills me. How in the world, how on God's green earth can you use the Bible to justify abortion when the Bible specifically says thou shalt not kill? What scripture in the Old or New Testament do you see that even remotely justifies abortion? I'm not talking about, well, what if she gets raped? That ain't what I'm talking about. Because that's a small number compared to the amount of women that have babies out of wedlock simply because they want to do the boom, boom, boom. Let's stop playing games, man. Come on, stop it. They want to get their freak on. The boy wants to get his freak on. They can't resist. And we all fall into that trap. We've all fallen into that trap. Yes, yeah. But they can't resist. Boom, they get. Let's be realistic, okay? That happens, right? And now the young lady has to contend with having the baby. But nowhere in the Bible does it justify that in any remote way. So the article talks about how the pro-abortionists used faith as a way to push this campaign. See, their campaign strategy feeds the minds of a lot of these people that would rather get an abortion. Now, I'm just giving you guys my opinion about this whole thing, about this. Okay, the campaign strategy of conservatives, I think they need to up it. They need to change their strategy. But also, liberal pro-abortionists have a better, how can I say, campaign strategy in the sense that they feed the lazy mentality of a lot of women who have these babies. And I know that's not a popular belief. I'm just give you my, because like I said, it's easier to abort that baby than to take care of that baby. Okay. You got to take care of the baby all your life when all you got to do is get an abortion. The only thing you may risk in getting an abortion, which is something the ones that was against abortion tried to push in their campaign, is this idea that it could damage your body, it could cause problems, and this, that, and the other. And I've seen the commercials for that. But those commercials weren't played enough. They weren't played enough. Perhaps because those who were against abortion could not afford to play the commercial enough. But all I was seeing was the pro-abortion commercials being pushed out there. It's all about keeping the government out. Keeping the government out. But here's what the conservatives are saying. Look, yeah, you guys are about trying to keep the government out, but at the same time, the government is slipping in through this new amendment you're putting in our Constitution. You see how smart liberals are? I got to admire them. See, the devil is very smart. The devil is oh yeah, I call him the devil. Because even though they don't know they're the devil, the enemy is using them. They're very smart and very manipulative. They'll tell you on the right to say, hey, you guys on the right are trying to push this government thing on us and government control. And when in reality, the left is going all the way in the back door and doing the same thing through legislation without you detecting it. Because after all, it says, the article, this amendment talks about individual, and those on the right, such as Governor DeWine, is saying, hey, that's kind of ambiguous. That could mean a young child, teenager, could decide to get an abortion at any time that she wants to without telling her parents. This is part of the tactic. Push the parents out, the left does. See, the left is the destruction of this country, man, but I ain't going to get into all of that. Push the parents out, right? Push the parents out and go ahead and get that abortion. It's so easy. One of the reasons why this passed, in my opinion, is because it's so much easier to go ahead and get that abortion. You might take a risk of, damage your body. Okay, there's a risk. But let's be realistic. Is the risk real high? Probably not. In addition to that, you're financing people who do the abortions. Doctors that do the abortions, they're getting paid tons of money. So it's for profit. For one, it's for profit. So I can see why it passed. Republicans and conservatives, we need to change up our campaign strategy because it stinks. The left knows what they're doing. They have fed into the laziness of a lot of these young girls and young women. Okay? They have fed into their laziness. They're fed into it. And now, I'm not saying all of them are lazy, but y'all know what I'm saying. Go ahead and get that abortion. It's quick and easy. Get it out of the way. Go on about your business. Pretty simplistic for the left, right? We got to come up with a better strategy, conservatives. And that's my word on that. What do you guys think about this passing of this new amendment to the Constitution of Ohio? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.